So continuing on with the motifs. So previously I talked about the aesthetic of interactions between light and crystals, and the way light interacts and moves and the aesthetic it creates. So the next motif after that is sparkling light. So again, this is sort of in a similar way related to it. It's a more aesthetic motive that I'm sort of going with. You can imagine it in many different ways. This one, in what sort of medium do you have that sort of sparkling light? In what sort of environments might you see that? What kind of colors you can expect? What sort of light interactions can you expect to see in that? So you can think of it, think of more aesthetic ways. I think it's a more aesthetic sort of you might think of it in an aesthetic affirmation sort of way, as though it is a way of a way of looking at the beauty that can be created by certain sharp contrasts of light, and certain in sharp ways that light can create certain sparkling type of aesthetics. Okay, so the next is the next motif. Um, okay, just a second. Let me try to think what I. Okay, the next is. Intense energetic light. And the way I thought about this is in an environment that is glowing and alive like, and there are many a sort of layered sort of environment in a way that there are multiple layers to this. Again, this is more of um, a somewhat more abstract and more related to light, and because I think it is an interesting concept to think in what ways light interacts and uh, in what kind of looks it can create, and in what way we perceive it, the beauty of it, the various ways in which we perceive light. Because, like I said, I like to think of things in very visual terms. So to think of an intense, energetic light, what kind of meaning could you think of that? What kind of what could the meaning of this intensity might be? And I when I thought of this, I thought of something I can't remember right now for some reason. There was something else to this, but I think for now you can just leave it at that. Maybe leave it a bit more vague, I guess. But if only I could remember, I would be. Yeah, whatever, you can think of it in a more abstract way. I guess maybe I would just leave it a little bit, I think it is somewhat more self-explanatory, so I guess I'll just move on to the next one. um, okay, so this is a very meaningful motif. It is uncaged beautiful birds. So there is that symbolism of becoming free in it, of uh, of the concept of not living up to your best life in a cage, and then breaking through that cage and leaving and going out, flying and soaring and living your best life in beautiful environments, meeting beautiful other birds also soaring in the sky. So interacting with them, and I think it's a very beautiful motive to think of it in that way. You can perceive this in many different situations. You can use any type of many different metaphors in which this can be perceived. But there is that concept of becoming, not being restrained, not having anything stop you, and you yourself becoming true to yourself and doing what you want to do, not letting anything stop you, achieving your full mental state, in being in that type of situation where you can fully express yourself in the way that you want to, and say the things that you want to say. Talk about things in a way that the way you see the world, express it fully, not being restrained, not being stopped, and soaring and looking at the world from that vantage point of flying high in the sky. So I think there's something very very raising about it. There is something exalting about it. So you can, I think it's a great motive, can be thought of in many different ways. And yeah, I think you can think of it as you can think of this motive as a good reminder that you are meant for great things. You can think of it as a, as an, I guess, yeah, you can think of it as a reminder, yeah. So, and a good message that comes to you to think that you are not meant to be caged, you are meant to fly high and do great things and achieve greatness. Okay, so the next motive is broken chains and broken shackles. Again, sort of similar to the previous motive that we talked about, not having, breaking through the things that stop you, to be bold and to not let your light and the things that make you, your soul, not let these things be stopped by shackles and not let these things be bound by chains. These chains and shackles, they can be broken. You are not meant to be stopped by these things, and so yeah, you're meant to be free. So all these sort of thoughts, you can think of them in this, using this motive. Okay, so I think for now the motives are, this is what I'm going to yeah, end with the motives. Like I said previously, there are many other motives that I might add to this and think of it, and but I think these are some more. There is plenty of different ways to think of it. Like I think these motives cover plenty of sort of emotions and sort of concepts. So I think you can in certain sense combine these concepts, and like I said, you can use them. You can use them in in an array where you can think of multiple ways, multiple formations, and using them, the meanings of these can be thought of in conjunction with other motives and other arcs, like I previously, all the ones that I mentioned. So I think with this, there is plenty of possibilities. There are many different ways that you can think of them. So for now, I think these are plenty to work with. So next, I'm going to move on to the Pantheon, which is, you can think of them as archetypes or gods, or yeah, think of it as sort of ideals and archetypes. I think there's something very something really, something to this that speaks to us. So that's what I'm going to cover next and now. Okay, so